Welcome back, everyone. I'm Lily Gravy Bread. You can call me Lily, and I'm here with Splat Droid. We'll be taking you into round 2 of this. It's dangerous to go alone. We saw round 1 already, and we'll be looking at, actually, we're seeing the teams at the moment: Light Licensing and Neat Notebook. Now, just looking at these rosters we have here, Droid, what do you have anything to say about these weapon comps? I am noticing, actually, perhaps a one-trick carbon deco. Now this should be fun. This should be fun, and I like actually how the rest of the team actually has some pretty good paint output with the shooter options that they have there as well, Droid.
Yeah, the paint output will be really good for the carbon one trick, and I'm excited to see how well they do with it. Because when there's somebody that plays just carbon, you know, they're gonna be pretty great at it. And with the paint along with it, they'll be able to shark pretty well with that.
Yeah, absolutely. But once again, you know, it's a case of like having to play against that play against that paint output as well, because you know, if you want to stop someone from sharking, you got to paint up as much as you can. We will be seeing the map modes at the moment: Hagglefish, Market, Rainmaker. This is gonna be one where I do think there'll be some pretty nice spots, especially for the Zuka to come out from the carbon, but also like as a fairly flat map as well. You know, it's one of those really good maps where that carbon can really get in and be a bit of a menace, even if not like necessarily pressuring so much of the ledges. But you know what, there are those ledges that occur once you get around to that first checkpoint and towards the spawn. Does look like we are going into the game at the moment, Droid. So let's see what they bring to the table. We've got a ballpoint again. We don't have a ballpoint on the other side. They're running a fairly short range comp with pretty much the longest range weapon is gonna be that wiper deco.
Yeah, that's gonna be a very aggressive comp. They're not getting the pop instantly off of that, but they're going to try to go in really fast with that, but the missiles popping out mess them up and get them all over the place. And they're just trying to get in anywhere they can, but they don't really have control yet, Lily.
Yeah, we saw a fairly neutral game. This push is going to be stopped at a score of 79 with Light Licensing taking the lead here. But Brock here, they do go down after looking probably for a pick here. And it is going to be a bit of a mad scramble to be able to take up this space at the moment. But with 3 going down on the side of Neat Notebook, I do believe they are going to be taking that checkpoint, right?
Yeah, and they got that checkpoint, and they want to get that jump over the pedestal to get those little points, and they do manage to, and they get it all the way to 13, which is a really good starting push all the way in the first minute. And Neat Notebook just needs to hold them back and get out of there, but those missiles are not helping their case, Lily.
Oh yeah, those missiles are definitely going to be pushing them back as much as they can. We are seeing a trade happening over on the side there, but My Color's Red does pick up the Raven here. They are being a little bit bombed out at the moment. If they can just hold this just for long enough, they might be able to find an opening here, but they don't have the paint to push forward, Droid.
Yeah, so since they didn't have the paint, they knew they just had to drop it off to the side. That way it would get reset, because they needed it out of there so Light Licensing couldn't get another push right off the bat. But they do still have control, and they're going to go more. There's 2 down on Neat Notebook, and the Rainmaker's just trying to pressure anyone left, Lily.
Yeah, absolutely, and with those 2 players down, this is going to be just like a very, very safe position for them to be in at the moment. However, they do start going down. I want to be able to see Neat Notebook being able to paint up ahead just a little bit more. They do have, like as we mentioned before, they do have like a really good high paint weapon comp with those shooters that they're playing, but they need to make the most of that in order to be able to get their first push in with only 2 minutes 40 seconds left in the game. We are seeing those specials come out, the Trine Zuko and the Trine Strength just before. We are seeing Brock getting a fantastic pick. It looks like they're taking the space they need. They might be able to find an opportunity with that double to actually start moving up ahead, but Brock goes down at the moment. Tomato is still being pressured back by that wiper. They just need to be able to stay alive here, but I don't think they will, Droid.
They weren't, and there's another trade between the Wiper and the Carbon. They need to get them out of there, or else Light Licensing can get another push. But there are 3 down on Light Licensing, so they can't get any push there off of that trade in double.
Yeah, absolutely. With 2 minutes left in the game, we are seeing Neat Notebook actually have their specials all out. They might be able to actually use this as their opportunity to finally get something in. I'm very excited. And they do finally get their first few points on the board. But we can see only with the Trizuki and being pressured so much by that Inkjet, they couldn't really get much off of that trade.
Yeah, and they're trying to do anything they can to get control, but it's not working very well. Though there's another trade with the Carbon. They try to get in, but they can't really seem to get more than a double for their team yet. And the Licensing is just controlling the mid, popping the Rainmaker every single time is helping them from getting from the Carbon sharking and getting anything more than a double at once.
Yeah, absolutely. I do get pretty excited when we do see Neat Notebook managing to get a certain amount of space there. But you know, every time they do, they always manage to go a couple of players down, even if they are getting those picks. We are seeing another pick on Brock, the Carbon player, as well from Kite. So with 2 players down on Neat Notebook, and with Light Licensing all 4 players up, it looks like in these final 45 seconds, we might be just seeing a very stalled out game as Light Licensing knows that all they need to do here is just make sure that Neat Notebook cannot touch the Rainmaker at all.
Yeah, they just need to control the mid, and they're picking off one at a time with that Inkjet and the Wiper. That was a really good Inkjet there. And it seems they're going to move the Rainmaker up either way with only seconds left on the map. And that's 3 down for Light Licensing, which is a chance for Neat Notebook to get a push off of that.
Yeah, well, bazooka shot coming out there, which is definitely going to be working something for them. But, you know, they not only have to get their first checkpoint, but they have to be able to get a lead off of the 13 that Light Licensing managed to get early on. But they are starting to run those points here. They are getting outflanked, unfortunately, by the ballpoint on top of the 10th there. So I don't think this is going to be their I don't think this is going to be their opportunity to actually be able to push it any further than that checkpoint. But that was a fantastic final run, I have to say, Droid.
Yeah, that was a really good one last try. They got the checkpoint, but they were all there. The ballpoint was ready, and they couldn't get it past the checkpoint. It was just the Carbon left alone, and they could not pop that on their own. And that was just the end of it for Neat Notebook.
Yeah, we saw the fist bump at the end there. I always just love seeing the fist bump of a celebration. But you know what? I gotta say, definitely well played. I know that like when the other team saw, oh, Brock's playing Carbon, they had to like get rid of that Carbon at every single opportunity possible.
Yeah, it seemed like they were trying to make sure they knew where the Carbon was at all times, and they did that really well. So they never were able to get anything more than a double to be super aggressive, which was good job on Light Licensing, keeping control of the map and paint, so they couldn't get any further.
Yeah, absolutely. It was also, I believe, that final push also when they managed to get 3 players down on the side of Neat Notebook that, you know, there was no recovering from that. So Light Licensing being able to play that really good defense at the end of the game as well, just to secure that win. I know that they did try to push up ahead again, like in the last 20 seconds or so, because they did have that opportunity there. But, you know, I think that opportunity really made it just a little bit more difficult, perhaps, to be able to take that Rainmaker back over to the other side if Neat Notebook wanted to continue that push.
Yeah, I was surprised that they took it all the way back to their base and tried for that one last push. I mean, there was an opportunity, but there were only 20 seconds left. But it did seem to work out because they had to go farther, and there was more that they had to paint to get back control of the mid to get that checkpoint initially, and there just wasn't enough. So they got picked off one by one until it was just the Carbon left alone, Lily.
Yeah, absolutely. Light Licensing definitely took that opportunity, I think, to be able to make sure that they could just regroup and get into those defensive positions to be able to pick those 3 players off when Neat Notebook were doing their final run for the first checkpoint, I gotta say. We will be going, however, into the next game at the moment, Wahoo World Tower Control. Now, let's see what they bring to the table here. This is another interesting one that I'm very curious to see what happens. The tower, I always find that the tower path is a little bit, it's a little bit weird here because I kind of
Yeah.
expect it to go over to one side, but it actually goes over to the other side around the elbow. So it's kind of like a tricky position to really try to defend from, because like the main defensive area is that high ground, the hill on the other side is definitely where I tend to think, okay, that's kind of like designed for defending. It looks like already two players have gone down on the side of Neat Notebook here, Droid.
Yeah, and they're already pushing. Light Licensing has control of the tower and the top mid, and you can't really contest much of that because the tower is just so high up, so they can get that. Brock the Carbon trying to get in and get a pick, but falls down. They're trying to just stop them from getting anywhere with that, but it doesn't seem to be working, Lily.
Yeah, Light Licensing, all players are still up, and they are bringing out the Inkjet to continue that push to the next checkpoint. This looks like things are going very well for them, Droid. We can see, however, it looks like Neat Notebook is trying to get a flank in to try and stop them. Neat Notebook, oh, they just go down right there, actually, on the side of Light Licensing. This is a little bit of a bloodbath around the elbow here, but it does look like Neat Notebook are trying to make a comeback, but they just need to be able to have that paint in order to do it, right?
They were able to pick off that ballpoint who was holding off all of left, so that's really good for them to get back into the bid, and there's 2 down on Light Licensing, so they can get control of the mid right now if they can just paint up enough and keep them back. And there's always another person sharking, so they have to be ready for that and waiting. And the hammer is trying to go in, gets one, and might be able to escape the NSAP before they get picked off, Lily.
Yeah, actually it does look like they managed to escape here, and also with 2 specials still up on the side of Light Licensing, they might be able to like continue taking up space here just to make sure that they have pretty secure. Wow, I think 3 players have gone down basically on either side here, so the teams are definitely going to have to try and regroup here. That Zuka coming in, but you know what? That splat on Tomato there was definitely going to stop the rest of Light Licensing from, Neat Notebook from being able to come back in too quickly.
Yeah, the ballpoint on Light Licensing was on their own, but they were able to hold them back while their teammates respawned, and that was really good. They got that one pick and stopped them from getting that jump in, so without dying too. So that was really good to keep control of the map. Lily.
Yeah, absolutely. And now Neat Notebook have their numbers down once again. Light Licensing is definitely doing a really good job at making sure that they are keeping the numbers on Neat Notebook down, making sure that they're always pairing up around those fights as well, and having the support to take them out and to push the tower when needed. We're seeing a fantastic zip filter here, just causing a distraction and getting a pick as well, followed up by Shallow on the Inkjet as well, just to clear out that area as the tower starts moving down the elbow. But you know what, with the players coming back down on from Neat Notebook side around the elbow to try and regain control, unfortunately 3 of them go down here, so this might not be the defense that they needed as they get wiped out there, Droid.
Yeah, that was a complete wipeout, and they can probably get past this elbow this time because the ballpoint can reach all the way into their base, and there's not really much Notebook can do here. They don't have any specials. They need to do something, get a couple picks, and they do seem to push them back a little bit, which does help them out. Just got to get them out of their base. They did get them out of the elbow. They didn't get past that checkpoint, which is really good because that once they get past that checkpoint, it's almost always game over. Lily.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Tomato gets a double here, so this could be an opportunity for them with 3 players down on the side of Neat Notebook to be able to just hold this tower. I gotta say, for as much as possible. Hopefully Neat Notebook would be able to actually start moving this tower back. They gotta get it not just through this first checkpoint, but also through the next ones. And I gotta say, as the towers kind of neutralized in the last 40 seconds, we are seeing just these fights breaking out here. I'm not sure if they're able to break back in, and it looks like Light Licensing is going to be jumping on that tower once again.
Yeah, they're jumping out of the tower just to get it back into Neat Notebook's base, but the hammer does pick off a couple, or just two go down on Neat Notebook, and they can't really get anything out of that. And Light Licensing just still has control of the mid, just always ready for one person at a time. It seems like Neat Notebook needs to get in really fast, but that's two down on their team, and it looks like that's going to be the end of it for Neat Notebook. Light
Yeah, it does
Licensing
look
takes
like
the game.
it does look like Neat Notebook was not able to secure that, not even that first checkpoint there, but they definitely played a very, very strong defense, stopping Light Licensing from being able to take the tower all the way over to the final knockout checkpoint. So Light Licensing, even though they've got these two games down, Neat Notebook, I presume, will be thinking, okay, so we know how Light Licensing are playing. We're gonna try and play off against them to really stop them from being able to take this final game. Neat Notebook might not have this set, but they could be getting this game here. We are seeing actually this replay here when they tried to, when actually Light License tried to like move it through that elbow there. Neat Notebook really trying to pressure them out as well, Droid.
Yeah, they had a pretty good defense once they got to that elbow. They were able to stop them multiple times, which is really good for Neat Notebook, but they couldn't really get the push off to after they got out of their base, after they got to mid, the picks were not in their favor and they couldn't really get a push and have control of the map fast enough to just be in control and get anything at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I gotta say though that even though they had a really strong defense here, I'd like to see them bring out that kind of like defensive play as well. That like patiently stopping the other team, patiently stopping Light Licensing in the next game, which we're going to be seeing on Clamblitz Inkblot, because you know there are some really great defensive options. But I gotta say that like when you're playing on Wahoo Tower, you don't really have like too many options to defend from here. It's kind of like a bit of a mad scramble, a bit of like a bloodbath that you're dealing with, especially around the elbow to try and clear anyone out because you're in such a small space, Trade.
Yeah, it was always everybody was just scrambling to get any picks they could when they got to the elbow. They were trying anything they could to get them to just stop pushing, and they usually they were able to pull it off and defend really well. And Light Licensing couldn't get that push off to the KO, but they just couldn't get past the mid there.
Yeah, absolutely. And for anyone new coming in, this is, by the way, it's dangerous to go alone. We are currently in round 2 and watching games between Light Licensing and Neat Notebook. These are two, I guess you'd describe them as kind of pickup teams of free agents, and these have been grouped together to try and like fight each other in these first 4 rounds that we'll be taking you through. But this is going to be Clam Blitz on Inkblot Art Academy. This is like probably my favorite map mode in the game. It's definitely one where you got to have like a really good sense of awareness of who might be coming from where, because there are quite a few options to push here, Droid.
Yeah, there are many ways to get in, and with the clams and everything, and that will be very good for the Carbon if they can get control of the map with their shooters. They do have an end zap and a splatter shot on their team, which can get control of the map and help them have enough paint. And the Wiper just picks off 3, and there's instantly in the clam blast basket trying to get the Carbon, gets the Carbon too, and almost gets another Lily.
Yeah, they 2 players do go down there, so so that was like a really good defense, I have to say, to really clear out, not just like on that Wiper attempting to clear out that plat, but you know, once they notice that Wiper, see, we're gonna get rid of them, otherwise they're gonna make a really strong push off of this. They managed to actually remove them from the game at just the right moment before anything worse happened there. Now, 4 players are up. They do have the Inkjet online, so they could, and they have quite a lot of pink as well, so they could potentially make a push off of this with that power clam. But I don't think necessarily they are going to just yet. They need a few more, bit more paint as well, and kind of if they lose that power clam, which I do believe that they have, it's not going to be working out for them to be able to make an attempt there. However, we are seeing the Wiper perhaps going for a flank as well to try and clear out that area once again, Droid.
Yeah, the Wiper seems to be there without Neat Notebook being able to know they're there, and they get that Super Clam in. The hammer does not work out, but they get something in, and that's That's all they really needed. They just wanted a little bit, but they do get 3 down. They do still have map control, but the other Neat Notebook could push off of that since 3 went down on licensing.
Oh yeah, and I gotta say, actually, we did see the Wiper setting up a really, really good super jump for the power climb as well, which is definitely what helped them get it in. But you know, this wasn't a very big push. They only managed to get that extra climb in after that power climb. So I want to be able to see them have an even bigger push of this, because you can get a very you can still get, like, it's not too difficult to get a lead off of a score of 77 here, especially on Inkblot Art Academy, where if you do have all of your players in line, if you do have your specials coming out, you can definitely get something going. You see the Kraken coming out, getting a pick on Kira here. Does look like they're looking for another one as well, at least trying to make sure that that ramp is dangerous for them to go up, Droid.
Yeah, they could not push up there. They had the hammer, but the Kraken just outplays it because they just have the invincibility get through them, and just stops them from going anywhere with that after what they were using it for. The Inkjet does pop out, gets 2 in almost a third, and Georgie's trying so hard to stop them, but Light Licensing is pushing up really hard into Neat Notebook Lily.
Oh, we saw that Wiper go down as they picked up, as they had the power clam as well. They did have quite a good clam economy going for them, but it does look like they are being held back as much as possible. So to try and stop them from being able to make a push in. Now the defense is really strong against them at the moment, even though they did get that early scoring. But I want to see the other team being able to score off of this, and it does look like, unfortunately, they don't. As another power clam has gone in, but I'm not sure if necessarily the rest of the team is able to follow up on this trade.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they were able to follow up and just got just a little bit of points. So that did give Neat Notebook another super clam to be able to push with. But Light Licensing it has been keeping control of the mid mostly to stop Neat Notebook from pushing up at all, and the Carbon trying to find a good spot to just get enough clams and throw one in, but they get hit. The hammer comes back out of nowhere and is in their base again. Lily.
Oh my goodness, yeah, that was a bit unfortunate as seeing Brock go down there on the side of Neat Notebook. But you know what? I think that with the last 45 seconds, it's still not a very big push. They only need those 2 power clamps to go in, and they can take the game here, I gotta say. But the thing that they have to fight against at the moment is the space that Light Licensing is taking up. We can see them really taking control of the plat here, even though 2 players have gone down. Maybe they can, in the last 30 seconds, maybe if Georgie gets a few clams, tries to set up something here, tries to win a fight. Don't go down to the bomb. Okay, thank goodness that I get down to the bomb there, but it does look like they are trying to move back in. It's just a matter of Light Licensing at the moment playing the defense for the last 10 seconds here, and I don't think that they have any specials online, but Neat Notebook does. So if they manage to work together and don't go down, which unfortunately 2 players have gone down in Neat Notebook, as we go into overtime, it does look like with that 3rd player going down as well, and with all those picks happening on the side of Light Licensing, it does look like, oh my goodness, it does look like this overtime is going to end soon, and Light Licensing takes game 3.
Yeah, they barely didn't grab that super clam and probably didn't even have enough time to get across the map to throw that into. And that's Light Licensing for you. They had control of the map the whole time and were just they had little pushes, but that was all they really needed because they were playing very passive and defensive the whole game.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a very, very strong game, I have to say, from Neat Notebook, playing the defense as well. It was definitely very difficult for Light Licensing to be able to get any big pushes here off the power clams. But you know what? That first push where they managed to actually set up their Wiper, they knew that they had the Wiper player to be able to create that flank, to be able to get up onto the bats, to be able to provide that super jump in. That was a very impressive first push rather. But I have to say, I think that like whenever Neat Notebook noticed that Wiper is on our plat, they managed to do everything that they could to stop them from having a big effect after that droid.
Yeah, they had a really good defense at the start there. They were able to keep that Wiper back even when they were almost 3 down, and that was really good timing to keep them back. They got them out of there, and nobody else was there from light licensing, so they couldn't push off of that just yet. But that flank with that flank where they got that one super clam and one clam in, it really helped them just secure like that they have the control. They're ready, and they got a little bit of points, but it wasn't going to be enough at first. So they had threw another in, and that was all they really needed.
Yeah, absolutely. But I gotta say that, like, even if they manage to get that power clam in, what the thing that they did really well was to be able to have that space, have that control over the other team's plat, in order to just like assert their presence and stop the rest of Neat Notebook from being able to push out from there as well. Now we have gone through light licensing versus Neat Notebook. This was round 2. We are going to pass it over to our analysts in a few moments in order to hear their thoughts on this set, and I think we'll be going on a short little break for now.
Welcome back, everyone. We are the analysts. I am Curvy with my co-analysis, Rice. We are here to just, if you weren't guys here around for the first match, we're here to just analyze, go over the match again, talk about some points that we noticed and some things that happened during the match.
Yeah, we're starting off first at the Rainmaker Hagglefish game. Something I just noticed very early on is there's double Wiper Deco on each side, so both teams can play off these missiles. But we do see light licensing just taking that early initiative, being very proactive and taking that first push into the side of Notebook, while Neat Notebook is still sort of recovering from going 2 down early.
Yeah, right here when this Wiper gets the kill, it was very like noticing like, oh, they're sorry. Yeah, and so they're able to make that push there. Sorry.
Yeah, well, we do see Neat Notebook does do a pretty good plays pretty good defense here, but they light licensing always just keeping up pressure during this whole game. That Zuka gets a really nice snipe onto Rainmaker, and that gives Neat Notebook a really good opportunity to get back in, but just getting picked off at unfortunate times.
Yeah, something we definitely noticed was a lot of the looping specials that the light licensing was doing. Doing specials after specials, keeping that pressure on, making sure that Notebook could never get an opportunity to move in. And yeah, that Carbon was definitely very scary, seeing it run around, like taking all the kills it can get.
Yeah, definitely. With all these, the good thing on the side of Light Lightning, I think, was they kept up a lot of paint pressure during this whole game. Even though the Carbon Roller did get a couple kills, licensing always kept up paint control, while Neat Notebook was actually struggling a little bit on that end.
Yeah, and so now onto the tower control game, we noticed that there were definitely coolers on both sides, seeing that thrown around often, making sure both teams got their buffs, especially seeing also, like, even every time the ballpoint whipped out that inkjet, I was terrified and being like, all right, someone's got to die. Who's it going to be this time?
Yeah, definitely. And again, as we said earlier, light licensing just always having that early push, that early aggression, and that's something I noticed throughout the whole set, where light licensing did not uh did not forfeit the pressure that they had. Even if they were down, they just made sure that the ballpoint could get doing a really good job of being an anchor
Yeah, and then even the on light licensing side, both their very aggressive weapons, the
Getting
Wiper.
jumps in and letting their uh, yeah, well, the wiper, the wiper and brush, I thought did a really good job pairing up, going in together, and being that distraction that both weapons do really well at just making Neat Notebook have to look the other direction and not focus on an objective.
Yes, and even like we said earlier, the constant looping of the specials, there's always one special out. They had light licensing had 2 recall specials, and they used it just slightly staggered so that once one went down, there was still another one the notebooks had to still deal with.
Yeah, definitely. And even with those recalls, even with the recall special, they always had those recalls in a pretty aggressive position. So once they came back to their recall, they can just go back into action and keep fighting with the rest of their team.
They were also placed in very safe positions. I don't think once they were ever caught off guard from their recall. It was always guarded at the back, or especially like the wiper who has the missiles and not recalling is able to make sure they stay in front and no one gets past them to be able to get to those recall spots.
Yeah, their team. Something that I did notice a lot, I think, especially in this tower control game, is Neat Notebook was playing a little more split up, and I felt like they were taking a lot of 1v1s, where that might have been a deficit for them compared to on the side of light licensing in general was just playing very together and coordinated. Whenever someone needed help, another person was there to come in.
Yes. And now on to the Clan Blitz match. That early kill with the wiper sitting around in their base, waiting around for more kills. That was very cool.
Yeah, and we see that there's also a Kraken on the side of Neat Notebook. They could have made this Kraken jump, and I think if we get to the end here, they do try to get that Kraken set up, but on the side of light licensing, they were able to just kill the Kraken before they can even go in for that clam jump.
Yeah, good job to light licensing for keeping up on all those 3 games. I believe that is it from us. We will be passing it back to the commentators. All right, actually, we do have... Sorry. We do have some time just to go over the next few matches. So we have Splat Zones on Mako Mart, Rainmaker on Humpback, and we have Tower Control on Manta Maria. Do you have any notes for us, Rice?
Yeah, so we saw Mako Mart earlier, but it was actually Tower Control instead of Splat Zones. But I think we're going to be seeing a lot of similar things where we're going to see a lot of sloshers, a lot of maybe rollers, just things that can play off elevation and ledges very easily. What do you think about that, Kirby?
Yeah, we definitely saw it also in like the first game. I don't remember the team names, but they were definitely playing to like the fact that they had the sloshers and able to hit over the ledges. And then even in Pump Track, there's a little bit of the ledges there and a lot of elevation up in high ground. So for those rollers and the buckets, they have a good big advantage here.
Yeah, and especially on Rainmaker Humpback, this map is very unforgiving. If you especially after the first checkpoint, you need to be extremely careful when you're on defense to not wipe or go 3 down while the other team is continuing that push.
Yeah, that straight line for after the checkpoint is definitely a very hard place to defend when you have a very big mob of players pushing in and trying to get to the very end.
Yeah, for sure. And Moving on to the next map and mode, we have tower control on Manta Maria. What do you think of this map mode specifically, Kirby?
Often when I play it, I find it very hard to push through those checkpoints. Having like all those checkpoints, I feel like there's something always there that's high ground that will just look over and then just have maybe a bucket or a roller just throw a few sloshes and all of a sudden nobody's on the tower anymore. I find it's not my favorite map, but it's definitely a very interesting one to try and push forward.
Yeah, definitely. Tower control Manta Maria, it's really, especially that second checkpoint. The second checkpoint where you're just going into a tunnel, it's really tough. And as a team pushing through that checkpoint, you need to make sure someone is able to cover that left side of the tower and someone covering the right side where the street and that bunker area is, because as the defending team, you have a lot of angles and places to go off of.
Yeah. All right, I think that is actually us from that is it from us now. We will see you guys around after the next set.